What's up, summoners? King Blair here. Today, for Top 5 Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the top 5 units I think are going to get an EE that could definitely use an EE to be a lot stronger. If you didn't know, tomorrow they will be having the live stream saying which unit will get the EE. This is kind of my predictions and the units that I think could definitely make use of the EE and become a lot stronger. So if you disagree, make sure to write down in a comment who you want to see getting an EE who makes sense by the things that we talk about. But if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, and join the Discord server. Link down in the description. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So you guys don't know what EEs are and what exclusive equipments are. Essentially, these are things that you can get in Holo Trials that you can buy that enhance a character's skill by giving them extra effects as well as boosting their base stats just a little bit more. There are a lot of units that actually have them, and typically there are going to be things like 4 stars, ML 4 stars, and just overall 5 stars that can make use of that EE. Now, there are a lot of really good units out there that could definitely use the EE, but for the most part, they're not giving EEs to units that need a whole kit rework. So if you want to think of a unit like Haste, right? Haste was a very underpowered unit, and he got a buff right? But the thing about it with EEs is usually these go on characters that are, for the most part, complete. So overall, they have a cohesive kit. They can function with the right gear, but just need that extra little push to become something stronger. So let's talk about some of my prediction on who I think is going to get an EE. So starting with the honorable mentions. Now, the honorable mentions are going to be units that I think could in the future get it, but I think they need a buff more than an EE. An EE is not going to be enough to make them relevant because they have inherent problems with their kit, and I don't think they're going to give EEs to underpowered units, as we mentioned. So one of the units is going to be Mortalix. While he definitely needs something to do better in the current meta, to perform better, his inherent problems are more than I believe an EE can fix. I could see him getting more chance to proc the S2 though if he was to get an EE, which is one of the biggest weak points that he does have. I could also see him getting either more damage on the S3 to be able to make more injury damage or better scaling, and I could see the S1 getting a higher increased defense chance. Again, the biggest problem with this character is consistency, and having to pick one thing to improve the consistency may not be enough. As far as stats, he could definitely benefit from having more health or more defense to make up for his lack of defensive stats, although having a little bit of extra attack wouldn't hurt him either to do a little bit more damage, but most likely health would be the best EE for him. I don't think they'll do it. I think he has way too many problems inherent to his kit that one single EE is not going to be able to fix. Same thing with units like Araminthia. I really do think this unit is in a massive need of a rework. She just doesn't do anything. She doesn't have an identity. She does burns, which is the cool part. She does have some form of stun. But even if they give her 100% burn chance or higher percent to stun, she just gets completely shut out by her ML counterpart. Her S2, while really cool and being able to increase the attack, it's not that special. There's a lot of other units that can do way more special things. And then, of course, just a super low chance to burn with the S1. And it doesn't even trigger to the S2. She's just in a very bad shape. An EE would definitely make her a little bit better, but it's unlikely. And then, of course, as far as Ludwig, his kit is very cohesive. He just needs, like, more stats and more damage, which he already has. So it's kind of weird. I don't know if just a damage boost of an attack would be good for him, if that would be worthy of the EE, since EEs are supposed to like add different effects to the character. He doesn't really need a new effect that can really make him better. He just needs better ratios. So of course an attack ratio would go a long way into making him a lot stronger, but that's all he needs. Again, he has a very complete kit. So I don't see him getting it, although definitely needs a little bit of a buff, right? So those are my 3 honorable mentions. Definitely could use the EE. Could potentially get it if Smalgit gives him very strong effects or very strong stab boost. But all in all, I just don't see them getting it. But now let's talk about the top 5. Starting with number 5, a unit that I really think will get an EE is going to be Angelica. I really do see Angelica getting an EE. She used to be the poster child for Epic 7 for a very, very long time. She has been shut out by so many other Soul Weavers in the current meta. She's too slow. She doesn't do her job properly. She's still a really good Wyvern tank, but that's about all the play she sees. Her biggest weakness is the slowness and the fact that she can't cleanse, right? Which are things that an EE could potentially fix. So of course, what I really hope that they would do, if they do give her an EE, is boost this speed stat. This speed stat is holding her back way too much when compared to other Soul Weavers. This just absolutely destroys her and doesn't let her be able to do much, right? So the giving her speed EE is almost like a no-brainer. The places where I could see them giving boost to her skill could either be in the S2, making it potentially not be stopped by unhealable effects, because this heal is very, very, very big. It basically will cap out a unit almost completely, as well as her, and I could see her becoming kind of a bruiser tanky mage. The other thing I could see them doing would be something for the S3 to potentially again be able to cleanse, although there's a lot of cleanser and her kit doesn't really go with a cleansing kit. But I could see them giving her an extra buff on this S3, potentially giving an attack buff to make it more unique, which would be really, really cool. And then, of course, if they wanted to go with a completely weird route, they could give her effect resistance on her EE and give her a cleanse. But those are two places where I could see. I don't know what the third one would be. Maybe something crazy like, I don't know, like maybe giving this another debuff. You know, like that could be a thing. So that way she's a better Wyvern unit, a better Wyvern tank, since you can actually put her in the front and she can apply debuffs. That could also be a thing, but again, I definitely do think she can get it because she's just right there. She can get this EE and be a lot better. Right, now on to number 4, and you guys, I already feel you guys typing and saying, King Blair, you're going crazy. This is probably going to be my hot take one, but I definitely do think Bloodblade Karen can get an EE. Is Bloodblade Karen bad? No, she's actually a really good unit overall. But she does struggle in the current meta. As you guys know, there's a lot of better cleave units out there right now. So Bloodblade Karen has definitely fallen off in the cleave aspect. As far as the Bruiser BBK, she is doing okay in the current meta. But again, she doesn't have enough stats to be able to do her job properly. And doesn't have the opportunity to counterattack without giving her a set, which makes her a lot slower. But if they were to give her an EE and either go for Bruiser or for better at cleaving, they could give her more defensive stats or more HP to double down on her already decently high HP. I think if they did this and they made her more into a Bruiser BBK, giving her extra HP, you could supplement the defense with other gear, we would see some Bruiser BBKs that could synergize very good with the S2. What they could do for the skills is potentially give her an opportunity to counterattack. That would be really cool, or an opportunity to dodge. Now, these effects have not been used before, so it's very unlikely that they'll do counterattack effects, or that they will do things like adding new evasion chance. That's not something I see them doing. What is more likely to do that would help her a lot would be if they gave the S1 some form of way to potentially just get CR boost whenever she uses it. So that way, if you do decide to go the counter build, you're not punished by having low speed, but rather make her a lot scarier for when she attacks. She can get another big Camarena push, even if she only uses the S1, right? That's something that I could definitely see them do. The other thing would be the S2, maybe potentially adding a debuff to it, or even maybe adding some defense penetration. Again, this is something we have not seen in the past from EEs, would be damage penetration, but having that would be really, really crazy if they actually gave her that and boosted her damage to just ridiculous numbers, and it would be really, really cool to see that happening. The other thing that they could always do, of course, is also increase the cap where this triggers. If you guys don't know how BBK works, her passive doesn't trigger until certain gaps are met. She has to either reach 75%, 50%, and then I believe it's like 25% to get the stat boost, right? So potentially they could make it so it's for every percent loss, she actually gets something. But this one is kind of a hot take one, but I definitely do think EE on Bloodblade Karen could make her really, really cool. A lot of people have BBKs that they love and like to use, and I could definitely see her getting some Bruiser treatment, since already I think she's getting etched out of cleave. But if they were to give her something like maybe a damage boost, it could just be a damage boost on the S3, could for sure make her see some crazy amount of play. But now on to the number 3. Now these are going to be the 5 stars that again already do their job, but could be so much more if given a small thing. Flam. This is the one that a lot of people talked about on her release. She is by no means a bad unit. She definitely does her job, but she could be an insane unit. What I could definitely see them doing is either giving her more effectiveness, which would overcap her effectiveness, allowing you to just focus on the speed, or they could even give her more tank stats, potentially more HP or defense, so that she's on the field for longer periods of time. Again, I do see her getting more effectiveness or HP as her EE. with effectiveness being like the one that would make the most sense, because then you can get a lot of effectiveness and you don't have to worry about getting effectiveness through other means, and you could just have insane effectiveness if you get her imprints as well, right? So she could have insane effectiveness. What I would like to see and what would make her extremely powerful is if they added a strip to this S3. If they add a strip to this S3, even if it's just a 1 buff strip, we would see Flam becoming one of the strongest cleave setups in the game, right? So potentially seeing her strip buffs with this S3 could be absolutely crushing, because this way you wouldn't have to give as much setup for her. She could be a standalone cleave unit, which would be so freaking powerful, right? Being able to strip buffs on this S3, even again if it's 1 buff, would be so amazing. The other thing I could see him doing is potentially making this give attack buff as well. That could be really good, or even boosting how much combat readiness this actually gives, right? If this went up to potentially give 75% combat readiness boost, she could potentially see kind of some sort of play as a CR push with Pavel, right? And with, although Pavel already kind of does that, but with units that can get self-attack buff, that you can give them the increased critical hit damage, and you can over cap them, potentially like units that maybe already have high base attack, and maybe make her kind of like an Oxlots. That would be really, really cool if they actually gave her higher CR pushing with this skill and kind of made her like a pseudo Oxlots, or made her give attack. I think that would be really, really cool. Again, this one, they could probably throw one in there just to have a higher chance to dispel. Maybe for PvE purposes, I don't know. They could just slap that on there and it'd be kind of cool. But for sure, either giving her attack boost on the S2, or maybe making this strip would be just make Flam insane, right? Which she already is a good unit, right? And as we mentioned, EEs are supposed to make units better. But alright, that's enough for Flam. Now on to number 2, Tenebria. Tenebria has actually fallen off. For a unit that used to be very popular in the previous season because of her capability to use counter set and be very annoying, there is so much immunity units in the game right now that she has fallen off a lot. And a lot of the units she used to be able to easily sleep are now running a lot of effect resistance, and she gets no help anywhere in her kit to help you with effectiveness. She has no effectiveness on her substats. She has no effectiveness on her imprint concentrations. She has no way for you to enhance her effectiveness. But if they gave her an EE that either boosted her effectiveness so you don't have to worry about it as much, or her health so you can make her a better bruiser, that would definitely help her in the stat department. And her skills, there are things that are so strong in this unit, but just immunity as a whole, and just the fact that it relies on that 15% and none of the skills are actually 100%, really does hurt her. I could see this becoming a 100% chance on the EE, and her becoming a way bigger threat for control cleave teams, right? If they want her to do damage, having this skill have a 100% chance to decrease defense and to sleep could be huge for cleave teams, especially for setting up, right? So that's a place that they could buffer, and she would be back in the meta. The S2, potentially stripping. Again, she usually uses Lela Violin for the purpose of stripping, but if they gave her this skill, being able to strip, it would make it so you don't have to give her Lela Violin, which would open up her artifact options. I could also see them, again, having a higher CR pushback, which again would be nice because she only really needs some form of stat boost, but I could see that being one of them. I could see her getting 100%, similar to Bellona, kind of like the Bellona treatment, that Bellona got 100% decreased defense. If Tenebria was to get that, that would be really, really good. It would be a really big consistency boost. And then of course they can always just add a random one, like maybe this skill maybe increases speed for your team, right? They could add something crazy like that, like just an extra effect, like, oh, this skill now increases speed. But I definitely do think Tenebria is one of the characters that will get an EE. Something tells me that she's very, very highly likely to get an EE. Why? Again, another poster child unit that has kind of fallen off. And you guys know Smilegate loves to give stuff to the Tenebrias, right? So Tenebria, very, very highly likely. And now on to number 1. This is the unit that I really feel is going to get the EE. If you ask me tomorrow if I'm wrong, type in the comments, you were wrong, King Blair, you're boosted. But my hot take 500 million IQ prediction is going to be that tomorrow we will get the announcement that Pavel is getting the EE. Pavel, out of all these units that I talked about, has the potential that with an EE to become absolutely meta. Out of all the units in this game that are just like one EE away from going to mediocre to meta, it would be Pavel. There is so many water units, so many fast water units in the meta right now that he could steamroll in the current meta. And with things like Guiding Light and Archer artifacts becoming stronger and stronger, I could definitely see him getting it. And there are so many ways for them to make him just amazing. The first place would be to give him crit rate. He has amazing speed. He is faster than Cerise. He has a faster base speed than Cerise. But again, it is very hard to get all those stats. But if they were to give him a crit rate EE and boost him up, you could give him a crit rate necklace and already have him almost at 100% crit rate, allowing you to focus on that speed and make him faster, allowing you to focus on the damage, allowing you to focus in all different aspects and give him a wide variety of build paths. And that's just by giving him crit rate. Already makes him a million times better. The other one that would just absolutely destroy the game, and I really hope that they don't do, would be giving him speed, right? And just making him a insane speed unit. I don't think this would happen. Smilegate would have to go crazy for them to give him a speed EE. I think it would be insane. He would instantly become one of the most played units in the game just because of how fast he would be. But it could happen, right? But I definitely see the crit rate one being really, really helpful. Although if they don't want him to be too strong, they could give it into attack. But the crit rate one would just be amazing, right? If you could get a crit rate EE, that's just insane for him. And then as far as skills, I honestly think what could make him, again, really, really good would be this attack buff is really strong. But what would make this better is if it had a chance to give you greater attack buff. And we have seen these buff with other units. We have seen units like Blingo getting the greater attack. We have seen that. So it's not out of this realm of possibility to see Pavel getting greater basket. This would aid you in, again, being able to focus on stats such as crit damage and speed, since you're getting a massive crit rate boost or attack boost off of this S2. I could definitely see that happening, and I think it would be really, really cool and make him a huge opening threat. If they gave him this skill, allowed him to get increased greater attack. It already requires you to have souls for him to be able to combo off into the S3. So I think it's something that would be fair, and it definitely would allow for counterplay, but would just make him so good for things like Arena and even for RTA for speed cleaving, right? Some other places, if they didn't want to give him too much power, already the crit rate boost is insane, right? That would already put him on the map. But if they wanted to make him, like, just give him a little bit extra, would be maybe adding more damage to his S2. That would be something I could see. This S2 does not do that much damage, so giving him damage to S2 would, again, be really, really nice. Or they could make this S3 potentially maybe give him an extra turn, so that way he has different options for opening. So if he kills, he could get an extra turn. That would be really cool. That would also add more things to his kit, allow him to be able to do more things. It could give him extra damage against barriers. That's something that would also be really, really cool. Or maybe just strip. Again, stripping would be really cool to be able to go onto barriered units like Fallen Cecilia's and be able to snipe SSBs like it's nothing, or F10s or Cerises. That would be really, really cool. Or maybe just ignore buffs, right? That would also make him just insane. But I definitely do see Pavel getting it. I think if he was to get an EE, he would instantly become one of the most used units because he has so much potential in his kit, so much potential in the stat line. He would just become a crazy good unit that would be like core to so many cleave teams and just open up so much more strategies in this game. So that's why it's my dream and also my prediction. But that is all I got for you guys today. I hope you all enjoyed. We will see tomorrow if I am wrong or if I was right. And if I called it, I called it. If I didn't call it, type in the comments of this video, RIP King Blair. Prediction level 0 IQ. But that's all I got for you guys today, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.